Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's a lovely opportunity to meet with the Charter Choir. Can everybody hear me okay? Are all fine to hear? Yep, great. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. If you could be kind enough to stay on mute while we have people speaking. And then at the end, there's an opportunity to ask questions, which you can do so either by going into the chat icon at the bottom of your screen or the question and answer. We've got quite a few questions that have been submitted in advance today from people who were unable to attend. So we'll be putting those questions first, and then we can join on with some extras towards the end. So I'm delighted to introduce you to Daniel Trocmé-Latta, who is our Director of Music, and also to Trish Maud, who is Homerton's lay chaplain, and members of the Charter Choir. And so I'm going to pass over to Daniel, first of all, for an introduction, and then we will then talk to the choir. So thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, Sally, and hello everyone, welcome. Yes, the last time the choir was all together was at the end of Lent term, which finished with some rather grand, large-scale events. And that's around the time that things, of course, started to get really quite bad in the UK. Right at the end of Lent term, with cases rising exponentially and people with symptoms being told to self-isolate. And just a few days after the end of term, the university started closing its buildings, telling all remaining students to go home if they were able to, and then it all kicked off. By 23rd of March, lockdown had begun well and truly in the UK. We were all being told to stay at home. Anyway, how did that affect the Charter Choir? Well, usually in Easter term, we'd be singing almost as regularly as normal as we would in Michaelmas and Lent terms. With some allowances for exams. Our normal routine, as some of you will know, is a Friday rehearsal and then a Tuesday evensong at St John the Evangelist on Hills Road, just opposite Homerton. So for Easter term, we had the usual schedule lined up, and we even had a jazz evensong, which we were going to do with another choir. And obviously none of that could go ahead, which was a great shame. Perhaps most frustratingly of all, we had a tour lined up, as we always do, and we were supposed to be going to Northern Italy, which obviously in February and March, Northern Italy was one of the places in Europe you really didn't want to go. But when it actually came to June, when we were supposed to be going, the situation in the UK was the problem. We were still in the middle of lockdown, even though Italy had started to emerge from its restrictions. So we had concerts lined up in Milan, Cremona, Mantua and Ferrara, among other places. And the hope is that we can either do that in 2021 or 22, but obviously with current circumstances as they are, it's impossible to plan. So it's just a question of waiting and seeing. Anyway, getting back to Cambridge, as I think most people know, during Easter term this year, all teaching and examining was taking place remotely. And with everyone staying at home, extracurricular activities were rather hard to maintain as well. So then we're into this situation where performers across the university, as well as the country and even the whole world, were faced with this dilemma, how to keep doing something, even though singing in person really, really wasn't possible. So the result was a couple of online performances which the Charter Choir put together, which hopefully you've had a chance to view online today or before today, and which we're going to speak about just a little bit today. So various members of the choir will be ready to speak about various aspects of those recordings. But the only regular activity that we were able to carry on with during lockdown was singing lessons, which again happened online. But singing lessons online work a little bit better than trying to sing with several people or play with several people online, which just isn't really what Zoom and other apps are made for. And apart from that, the choir met up online for a few online socials, and we kept in regular email contact as well. So that's just a general introduction to what we've been doing. And I think I'll pass back to Sally at this stage.
Thank you, Daniel. As I said before, we've got quite a few questions that have been submitted in advance today. So we've been able to allocate them to members of the choir who'll be able to give an answer. So I'm just going to start off with Lizzie. And if you could let us know, Lizzie, when was the last time you all actually sang together as a choir? And what was the particular event?
Hi, I'm Lizzie. So I'm about to go into third year. And the last time we sang together was actually during Lent term, where we had the charter dinner, which was we were joined by 25 alumni as well as the regular choir. And this was partly because it was a 10-year anniversary of the choir's founding and also when Thomason was given its royal charter. So it was a really, really special event. And this involved singing the charter evensong beforehand and then singing during the dinner, so coming in between courses to do a performance. And then the final event was actually an evensong on the 10th of March, followed by our annual choir dinner, which was unknown to us the last time we'd be convening as a choir for at least 6 months. But it was a really amazing experience, the charter dinner, looking back, because it was so, having all of these alumni together, especially, you know, with what was coming afterwards, it was almost like this really special celebration that probably we won't experience this year in the same way, which I think makes it way more memorable.
Great. Thanks very much, Lizzie. Thank you. Just moving on now to Mikhail. A question for Mikhail was, when did you first realise that there wasn't going to be any more choir for a while?
Yeah, so it was kind of the same time that we realised that, you know, there wasn't going to be a final term. It all sort of happened together. And I remember it was about maybe 1.5 or 2 weeks after term had ended. I remember I was sitting in the library with a friend and we sort of got the email through from, you know, Stephen Toop to say university was going into code red, there wasn't going to be a final term. And I remember there was a bit of panic for about the first hour or so as everyone was trying to figure things out. And obviously that was a real shame. But like as Daniel mentioned before, it was so nice that, you know, we did a few recorded pieces online, which I know some more people can talk about later. And we had a choir social, we had a Zoom thing that we did, which was really nice. So even though we couldn't meet in person, it's been nice that we could still see each other online.
Great, thank you very much. I'm moving back to Daniel and to Trish now. If you could tell us a little bit more about the virtual evensong, which was quite a feat, and why did you feel it was so important for the choir to do it? And also, how did you pull it off, more importantly?
I think it all started out when we realised there was going to be no more evensong, and it seemed such a shame for the year to end, although it was on a high note, but for the year to end with a big gap through the Easter term. So as the term started, the curate at St John's, Hills Road opposite, was in touch with me, and she said, you know, we're doing online services, and would the charter choir like to come online and give and record a service? So we talked about it a little, and then I got in touch with Anna, who is one of our choir reps, and we discussed it, but then everybody was busy with exams. And we really felt that it was important not to let the year end without having an evensong. So there was a lot of determination around, and Adam had done great works with the anthem, which they'd sung at the Charter Evensong, and then produced a Zoom, which was absolutely amazing. And that really, you know, encouraged me no end to keep going at this idea. So with support of the curate, Chris Campbell, and with the encouragement of a group of students, and then with the return of Daniel, well, they got started, and I'll pass over to Daniel.
Yes, I think my enduring memory of doing, well, there are several, but one is that it was so time consuming. It was great fun to do, but the time it took to edit was just remarkable. And considering that some college choirs had been doing one of these a week is just unthinkable, really. But the anthem alone, which when performed lasts 2.5 minutes or so, must have taken about 10 hours to prepare and edit, and that's not counting the singer's own recording time. But the first thing I did was to record myself conducting the anthem. And I think Sally might have a photo there, here we are, yes, of the way in which I was able to, or had to angle my computer to capture me, my laptop has the camera in the bottom left corner, which makes it a rather odd angle. And you could see I had to improvise with stuff at home and make it look like there was no mess on the floor or on the sofas or anything else. So the backdrop was nice and clean. But in a household with 3 small children, this was not very easy, but I think I got there. That was that thing. And then once I'd recorded myself conducting the video, I sent it to one person in each section of the choir. So one soprano, one alto, one tenor, one bass. And then Adam, who you'll hear from in a minute, and who edited the music, put them all together. We made tweaks to tuning, timing, make sure we could use them as solo tracks for the other members of the choir to sing along to. And so once we'd done that, those tracks got sent to everyone else in the choir, and everyone else sang to those recordings to try and match as closely the SATB samples, if you like. So there was a lot of listening and re-listening and putting things together, a lot of phone conversations between Adam and me. And the next thing I did was to record the responses and the psalm, which were sung in plain chant. So I recorded myself singing both of those parts, which then the featured singers were able to listen along to and record themselves doing. And also our organ scholars, Matt and Mark, provided voluntaries before and after. And then once all that was put together, we sent it to the clergy at St. John the Evangelist Church to create the final service, to integrate the readings and the other spoken parts of the service as well. And that is how we made the final product.
Right, it's quite a feat of engineering, if nothing else, Daniel. Thank you. Curtis, if we could move on to you, can you tell us a little bit more about recording the anthem and what was your role exactly?
Yeah, so I am one of the singers for the quartet, which was used as a framework for the rest of the choir. So basically I had to follow Daniel's conducting, so I had to sing along to his conducting, and I would have to record a video and then send that to Adam as well. So he would compile a video of the 4 of us singing, and then that would be sent to the other choir members to sing along to. So honestly, my job wasn't that difficult, but it was not easy as I didn't really have much space. And the second thing was that I was not very used to just listening to my own voice when I was singing, and the breathing was often quite difficult to get it right. So, but I mean, it was a very interesting experience. In fact, yeah, my first experience doing this online. But yeah, so thank you, Adam, for doing all of this as well. And thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, thank you. I might just skip on to Adam, in fact, who was highly instrumental in the editing to create such a superb video. How long did it take you to edit all the music, Adam, for the Virtual Evensong?
Yeah, so editing wasn't something that I'd had much experience of in the past, and so it was definitely quite a steep learning curve. And I think I definitely, with just Daniel alone on Zoom calls, kind of me playing something back, and trying to perfect all of the fine-tuning the consonants. I think we probably spent 10 hours just on video calls and then I would constantly be sending back and forth emails, sending like the new updated version. And then I think on my own, probably I spent around 40 hours on my laptop on this software called DaVinci Resolve, which is a free video editing software. And so it was definitely quite a rewarding experience at the end of it, but I think that week and a half was very intense, but after having done a project earlier in the summer, it was something that I really wanted to get as perfect as I could get it.
I think everyone will agree, actually, having watched the video, no one would know that the sort of angst and work that went into producing such a fine video. I think you did a grand job.
Thank you.
Anna, I'm going to move on to you now. Can you let everybody know what your involvement in the Virtual Evensong was, please?
Yes, so I actually ended up taking quite a fairly prominent role in the virtual evensong. I read the first lesson and I sung the psalm with Charlotte, another soprano. Since I graduated in summer, sad I know, this is really nice for me as it was my last service with the choir. I enjoyed recording the reading because giving it a few goes made sure I really got the meaning across properly, which you wouldn't have the luxury of usually with a live performance, obviously. But cantoring was much harder because you had to get the perfect timing. So as Daniel's already touched on, I had him in my ear, keeping me in time and in tune. But even so, with cantoring, there's no rhythmic beat, like no regular beat. So you don't know exactly when he'll begin singing, and I had to listen to it so many times to get exactly the right emphases and to make sure I came in at the right time, because plain-song psalms have big breaks in the middle of every line as well, which makes it slightly more tricky as well because it's kind of slightly arbitrary. But yeah, it was I did quite a lot, which was nice.
Thank you. Matt, we need to find out a little bit about you and recording your organ voluntary in the Abbey. How did you find it going back to the organ after such a long time?
Yeah, so I recorded my piece in Downside Abbey, and I chose Carter and F by Buxtehude as my piece because it's quite loud and quite well. I didn't actually have much time to practice, so I had to choose something that I knew very well, and I was kind of worried that I'd forgotten how to play, because I think that's the longest time I've gone without playing. And yeah, it was really nice going back to the Abbey. It might be one of the last times I get to play there because they're leaving, so the monks are leaving. So yeah, I was quite grateful to be given that opportunity to play as loud as I wanted with no one complaining.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Adam now. Adam, can you tell us a little bit more about the Bruckner recording, please?
Yeah, so Bruckner's Locutus Day is a great piece which we'd done before, and I think at the start of the pandemic it was sort of quite a bold undertaking to try and record a virtual anthem, especially because, like I said, I'd had no prior experience of editing, and I think, yeah, over 2 weeks of me kind of initially having this idea and the drive to do that, and then emailing everyone and constantly messaging people to get their recordings in. Yeah, it was a great thing to pull off, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without the help of many friends who listened to. I'd send them off something and just say, "Could you help me out here?" Or yeah, so it was great.
Marvellous, thank you. Now, I think we're all very much aware of the impact that the pandemic has had on the arts in this country, but maybe slightly less so overseas. So, Catherine, perhaps you could tell everybody a little bit about how it's been affecting everyone in America.
So, as far as I've seen and noticed, if you were talking the equivalent on a college campus in America, I'd have to say that the arts have gone to the wayside. Things like choir and your theater performances have really died off. And you can see this resonating all the way up through the Broadway level. They're saying they're not going to be back on until 2021. And because we don't have the same culture of a choir and that need, and it's not as ingrained, it's not part of something people are used to as much. I know I come from a church choir of 4. So there's not as much drive to get arts back and running. And so it's kind of hard to see that performing arts, which in America actually is very, especially in poor schools, they don't have as much of a program. And to see the pandemic has kind of reset and set back a lot of our progress to things that you wouldn't want to see. And it's really unfortunate to see. But extracurriculars, after school programs are really struggling to keep up. And so a lot of people actually are now losing their choir community. You can't audition, you can't practice with your group. And it's really hard to see that difference. And in the UK, I'm actually kind of glad that we have more of a community so that we all can get back to singing.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a sobering thought, actually, but thanks very much, Catherine. Obviously, we're all coming back to a term that's going to be completely different to what we were used to. So, Lucas, what do you think is going to be a little bit different about the choir this Michaelmas term as you return?
Yeah, I suppose one of the main differences will be that we'll be split up into 3 separate groups while singing, so 3 separate sub-choirs. So in some ways, that will feel like we'll be singing as smaller ensembles rather than as a whole choir. So for example, in the evensong, each separate sub-choir will be singing a different part of the evensong service. But I suppose also in some ways it means we'll have to work together a lot more to actually make sure that this new way of performing, which we're actually not used to at all, that will actually then be successful. And the social side of choir as well will also be affected. I mean, inevitably there'll be no like face-to-face social gatherings in the future, such as our usual choir wine and cheese event. But we are still thankful that the singing can actually go ahead, albeit under different circumstances. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you've all proved it can be done. Just finally, from the questions that we've had submitted, we have 2 new students that are about to join us this autumn, Georgia and Sophia. Georgia, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you're looking forward to the most about starting at Cambridge. Are you there? Is she gone? Okay, Sophia, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Sophia, hi. Can
Hi,
you tell us
so
a little bit about yourself, Sophia, and what you're looking forward to?
yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Sophia. I'm going to be reading the 3-year classics course at Homerton this year. And I was looking forward to having the formals every Tuesday and dressing up and having 3 dinners, but I guess that's not going to be happening anymore. So I would say I'm looking forward to being part of the evensong, because I've been brought up as a Russian Orthodox Christian, and obviously our church services are very different from Church of England services, and so I'm looking forward to being part of that now.
Great, thank you.
Hello?
Well,
sorry,
Sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
Georgia is here, but I don't know if her sound is working or not.
Sound's working. Georgia, do you want to have a go?
Yes, sorry about that.
Don't worry. Hi.
Hello, so I'm Georgia. I'm from Sheffield, and well, my past experience of choir is actually for the last 2 years has been my school choir, because I was away at boarding school. So one of the things particularly I was looking forward to with the choir was looking at more of a repertoire involving church music, which I think partly because of the pandemic, I think our repertoire is actually going to be almost exclusively the sort of more religious songs and that kind of thing, which is something that I'm excited to explore a bit more. And then also I think, again, due to social distancing measures being put in place, I think we're rehearsing a bit more than we would be in the chapel, which I'm really looking forward to, because I've always really enjoyed singing in churches, but I've never really had a regular opportunity to do that. So yeah, I'm really excited to get started, meeting new people and join a new choir.
Great, that's lovely. Well, thank you all very much. I mean, we've had a wonderful comprehensive input from the choir, but I don't know if has anyone got any questions they would like to ask, or any comments or remarks at all. If you want to put into chat, everybody is very happy and willing to answer any questions. Anybody at all? I think we've given the choir have given you such a superb information on everything that probably answered all the questions in the meantime. But is there anything at all? Okay, well, maybe if I could just pass back to Daniel now, just for a sort of
Trish has a question.
Oh, where are you? Trish, I beg your pardon. I couldn't see, you weren't on my screen.
Sorry. Yes, hello. I'm glad to have a chance to come back, because I'd like to encourage everyone to come to Evensong this term. If you possibly can, if you're in Cambridge and able to come to St John's, we're going to be having our services on Tuesdays at 6:30. And if you can spread the word amongst Cambridge people, that would be great. And we are going to be able to have a congregation, because the church is huge. And even with the 3 choirs spread around the chancel end of the nave as well, there'll still be a lot of space in the church. And so those 3 little sub-choirs are going to be voluminously singing, so that anyone who can come and join us will be most welcome. Thanks, Sally.
Marvellous. Thank you, Trish. Thank you. Daniel, did you want to add anything at all to round it up?
Well, there's been a question submitted in the chat from
Oh, it hasn't popped up on mine.
Oh, right. how have your voices, how have you been keeping your voices in trim during lockdown? Good question. Who wants to answer that?
So I can answer this. Well, I haven't had as much formal training previously, and I don't have a teacher that I could have gone back to at home, even to Zoom. One way that I did like to keep up was I probably spent about 200 hours in the car, either carpooling or road trips, and I think I have experimented with every single sound there is now, and definitely keeping up that way.
Right. We have a question from Matthew Moss.
Hi, thanks everybody for explaining all this to us. I found it's fascinating and really important that you've been putting in the hours to keep in touch in this way and to keep the show on the road. I have a question for Daniel or anyone else who wants to have a go at it. We heard anecdotally there have been lots of reports about choirs all simultaneously falling sick with COVID-19. What's the latest view on whether the physiological fact of choirs singing at each other is causing this, or whether it's just that choirs are social beasts and people spend time in each other's company?
Yeah, the latest science, I don't think there's been an update since the report that came in the middle of August, which concluded that basically singing is no more dangerous than speaking at a similar volume, and it doesn't produce any more aerosol than speaking would. So it was at that point that the government was able to say, okay, well, amateur choirs, you can now proceed with your singing, socially distanced, etc., etc. And so we're still working on that basis, despite the fact that the government is tweaking the rules, you might say, every week or so. And nothing has been, the rule of 6 has put a little bit of a spanner in the works in some cases, but we are lucky in that we're part of an educational establishment. And so as far as education and training goes, the choir very much counts as that, under that umbrella. The social aspect, yes, I suspect that there were obviously several big news stories about choirs which had met and then everyone in the choir, or 90% of the choir, became suddenly very ill. And obviously we can't know exactly what happened in those scenarios, but the suspicions are that the transmission of the virus came more from people hugging, people shaking hands, people touching objects that other people had touched, use of facilities, sharing refreshments and so on. And so, yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid.
It's a learning curve, I think.
Absolutely.
I think that is it with our questions. Anne Muston would just like to, I think some of you have probably seen it in chat already, she'd like to thank everybody, and she's really enjoyed listening to you all and to how you've kept it all going. I think we'll all agree you've made a magnificent job of it all, and I think we wish you all a very, very happy term, and a very productive one too. So I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. I know that some of you are also booked into some other events as well during the weekend, so I hope that you continue to enjoy, and we wish you all a very happy and healthy weekend and run up to Christmas. So thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.